Okay, I'm good. Thank you, Mar. So just good evening, everyone. Thank you for being flexible with us while we were joining Zoom. As Mara mentioned earlier, just a couple, Zoom etiquette. If you do have something to say as a senator with speaking rights, please put an X in the chat so you can be recognized by Mar, our chair, and then you will be called to speak in order. If we
Pause 1 second, it's echoing. Okay, you should be good now.
All right, hopefully it's not echoing. Okay. So like I was saying, if we do have any students present on the YouTube, please, when it's during student forum, we would like to entertain y'all to ask questions during that time. Please make sure you ask all your questions during student forum because outside that time, we will no longer be able to take questions or any suggestions or any concerns from our students. So just wanted to make sure we were aware of those Zoom etiquettes. But other than that, Mara, you're good to go.
Alrighty then. So let's begin. So I like to call this meeting to order at 7:04. And now we're going to have roll call by LaShonda.
Hello. When I call your name, please state your title and then say present. Dominic Camargo. Is it just me who can't hear? Or
I think he has himself on mute.
it's okay. Well, I can see these, so we'll call it a day. Jalen Bailey.
Junior Senator here.
Fatima Shahid.
Senior Senator here.
Kennedy Green.
Community Senator present.
Jasmine Israel.
Residential Senator present.
Manny Aquino.
Senator at large present.
Jaisha McKinney.
At-large Senator present.
Grace Zucchini.
Student Organization Senator present.
Lauren Walkup.
Transfer Student Senator present.
Azariah Journey.
Non-traditional student Senator present.
Mason Newcomer.
Brian Scholl Senator present.
Kevon Lee.
College of Arts and Sciences Senator present.
And Marley O'Connor.
College of Visual and Performing Arts Senator present.
Great, thank you. And for anyone who butchered their names, I apologize.
Thank you, LaShonda. Okay, let's move forward. If you'll let me. Okay. Now can I get approval of the minutes? They were sent out in an email by me yesterday. If you would like to make a motion to approve the minutes, please put X in the chat. Azariah.
Motion to approve the minutes. Last meeting.
Mason.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, can I also get approval of the agenda? It was also sent out yesterday. Mason, you can go ahead.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Jalen, do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so now we have a student forum. I'm not sure, Haas, should we proceed with this before or after the speaker?
To be honest with you, since y'all approved the agenda, it would have to go before, unless y'all retracted that motion and moved the student forum to after, if you get what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's totally up to y'all in the Senate.
Okay. Yeah, is there any senators who Okay, 1 second. Azariah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, let me take back the motion to approve the agenda. Move the student forum for the guest speaker.
Okay, Mason, is there a second for that?
I second.
Okay, thank you. So we will have our speaker speak to us before, and then we'll have student forum after. And for our speaker, please do not unmute yourself at any time. Let her speak, and we will move on with questions and comments and concerns afterwards.
Are you ready for me?
Yes, thank you so much.
Certainly. So, well, let me introduce myself. I'm Donna Heath. I'm the Vice Chancellor for Information Technology Services at UNCG. I am absolutely honored to be able to speak to you guys tonight. I look at your faces and I see our future. So it makes me very happy always to be able to connect with you. And I'm gonna walk through and try to really tell you as best I can in plain English where we are and what's going on and what decisions we're trying to make here and why. And I would absolutely invite you to stop me at any point in time if you have questions. And I will also invite you, I know we're going to roll through a lot of information in a fairly short period of time. So if you have any questions following up to this discussion, let me make sure you have my contact information. 1 second here. My mouse is not behaving itself, but I'm going to post it in the chat here. So I am. I don't know if it popped through yet. I'm moving very slowly. Okay, there we go. So if you have any questions that I don't get to in our discussion tonight, I do need rights to share my screen. But if you have any questions, please feel free to follow up, and I'm happy for us to meet or have a call or anything that you would feel comfortable doing. So let me tell you just briefly a little bit about me. I started here. I had a long and illustrious career in private industry and private universities before I started here. I've been doing this about almost 30 years now, a little bit longer than 30 years now. So, shame to tell my age, but I started here at UNCG in 2004. So I've been here coming up on 18 years now. And the role that I started in was really the role of the CTO, which means I was responsible for all of the systems and networks infrastructure here at UNCG. And I worked for a gentleman who had been here 26 years as the CIO. And I didn't have very much visibility. I didn't have any visibility actually into the budgeting process for IT in the prior leadership role that I held for 12 years. So basically what happened is, we would make a plan for the things that we needed to do for a given year. We'd ask for the money for it and the money would appear. And that's how I operated for the first 12 years I was here. So when my boss retired back in 2016, Chancellor Gilliam asked me to step into this role as your Vice Chancellor for IT and to manage IT operations. And the thing that I was worried the most about when I decided when I was evaluating whether or not to take this role was that I really didn't have any visibility into the budget and I didn't understand how the ITS budget worked. So I was nervous about that. And so I talked with my counterparts who were also in leadership roles in IT at the time. We decided we'd move forward as a team together, that I would take the job. And the first thing that we did was we locked ourselves literally in a room for about a month. And we looked at every single dollar and we tried to really build an understanding of how we were funded, where was our money going, how we were spending it, and to really try to develop a full understanding of, what our current responsibilities were and what funds we had to cover those responsibilities. And so we sort of earned a degree, if you will, in IT finance at UNCG during that period of time. We spent a lot of energy really trying to understand it. And what I learned during that period was that I came into this job with about almost a $3.4 million annual operating budget deficit. So I'll talk to you in a minute about how we got there, but that's a pretty hefty deficit. And so the way that we arrived at this place, that means that every year, after we finish paying all the bills for ITS, we still are short $3.4 million. And so how we arrived there, I think a couple of things contributed to this. So first of all, back in 2006, I guess, we built our first wireless network here at UNCG. And when we built that network, we had about 500 people connecting to it on a daily basis. Well, you all know what happened. You know what happened after that, right? By the time we fast forward to this year, everybody's got 5 or 6 wireless devices, and we have 53,000 devices hitting the network every day, the wireless network every day. So I don't think anybody could have really understood the tech explosion that would have happened and how fundamental that would become in how we deliver education, right? So I think that's one contributing factor. The other piece of that is the way the state budget works. For IT, when a new building is built or when a building is renovated, the capital budget for that building, for that project, pays for the first round of technology that goes into the building. So you all know, because you're in these buildings, everything in the building's networked, right? We've got door locks, we've got thermostats, we've got washers and dryers, we've got, all of the network coverage that's in the building. So everything is technology now. Our buildings require a lot of technology. And none of them, in fact, would operate successfully without having a pretty significant baseline of technology in them. The problem with the way the funding model works is that, this equipment is just like having a laptop or one of these. A couple of years down the road, you get maybe 4 or 5 years of life out of it, and then it's a doorstop, right? Then it doesn't take updates anymore. It doesn't run fast. It won't run the software that people are putting out, and so forth. And when you don't get updates anymore, you get security issues. So what has to happen is all of this equipment, even the servers and the networks and the classroom technology and all of these pieces, have a refresh cycle. So that refresh, depending on what the technology is, it happens somewhere between 5 and 8 years. So equipment was paid for the first go around, 5 years comes along and there's no funding provided for the refresh, right? So what happens is, we had a budget that was built in 2005 to cover our network infrastructure, and that budget never changed. And we added a lot of buildings, right? Between that time, I think at the time, in 2005, I think we had something like 48 buildings, and now we have 110, right? So we're still operating on the same budget, fixed budget that we had for our network that we had back then. And this is not unique to us, by the way. This is the same for all universities in the UNC system and for most public universities across the country. This is just how the funding model always worked. And what happens is universities, and I will tell you that I last year chaired the UNC System CIO Council. All of my peers in the other 17 schools, I know them really well. And so we all commiserate often about our funding models, and we all try to learn from each other and understand, where the other schools are at any given point in time and how it's working. So I can tell you definitively, this problem is not unique to us. So, where we are, same thing happened with classrooms, right? We had a whole, when we started funding, those are our 2 big cost centers, the network and classrooms, equipping out our classrooms. So when we started down the path with classrooms, we built that budget in 2014. We had, I think, 100 and some classrooms. Now we have 200 and some classrooms. So you can understand it's grown without additional infusion of funding. So the way universities have typically handled that is they fund those budget gaps from year to year with one-time money. And that's how they've addressed the problem for many years. So you had a fixed budget that was this amount. If you were short, $3.4 million, then you got reversion money or something like that. At the end of the year, you always got the amount of money that would make up that gap in funding. And everybody operates that way. And the problem that we face now is that we're at a place where we have a different budget environment. We have pretty dramatically declining enrollment, and we have a different system level funding model. So our one-time money is very short. In our annual one-time money is in very short supply. So what that means for us is, right now, ITS has, fast forward 6 years, We have almost a $4 million, and we've grown in that time period. We've added a nursing building, and other things in the mix as well. So we've grown during that period, and our gap now has moved from $3.4 million to 3.9, almost $4 million annually. So we have to come up with a way to address that, given that we don't have one-time funding available to us in the same way that it was in prior years. So there are a couple of choices with that, right? There are a couple of choices that I could face when I'm talking to my counterparts on the leadership team about how to fill that gap. One is I could say, you need to find me the money, and find me the money in this case would mean that I'm pulling that money directly away from students. I'm pulling it away from academic affairs, teachers in the classroom, or I'm pulling it away from some other function at the university that supports you. And so the path that I decided to go down here was to try to balance this budget. Because I think I have been here a long time, and I'm a Greensboro native. I care very much about this community and about UNCG. And I'd like to see, I'm not a long time for this place. I'm getting long in the tooth, so to speak. So I'm probably not a lot of years away from retirement. And when I leave here, I'd like to leave UNCG in good shape with a sustainable budget, with sustainable operating practices, and know that when I walk away from here, there's going to be technology, and it's going to be at the right level, and it's going to be funded for the students who come in after you. So, now we start to look at how do we cut the ITS budget in a way that we can move to a more sustainable model. And so I will tell you, there are a couple of things that we can do when we start to look at IT expenses. About 68% of my budget is in people. And so that's our biggest cost, is our people, that's staff, salaries, and benefits. The next part of our budget is the cost to what's called OTP, other than personnel. And so that's, 30-something% of our budget. And so that is split really into two big categories. And the categories are the cost of providing the services that we provide and our institutional maintenance. Institutional maintenance is a pretty fixed cost. That's not something I can do much with, right? So what that is that's the cost annually of licensing products like Banner, like Microsoft, like Adobe, all of the things all the software that we use. And so that's all based, these companies operate on an FTE model. And what that means is they count how many people are using the software, how many people you have on your campus, and they charge you based on that. So that doesn't change much. So that's money that's sort of off the table. I can't do much about that. I can't change the institutional maintenance costs. So the things that I can change are personnel and the cost to deliver services. So I went through last year and a half ago, I went through and did a restructuring in ITS. And within my division, I ended up letting 20 people go, which was a really large number of people to let go. And I will tell you, that was a tough year for me because I knew all of these people. I knew their families. I delivered all of this news myself, and that was a hard time and not a good year for us. And it was really demoralizing for the ITS division. But we wanted to try in every way that we could to pull all the levers we could before we impacted services, right? And so that's the path we went down. And so we've done what we can do in terms of reduction of personnel without impacting services. So the people that are left now in IT all play a role in directly supporting the service. So if I cut those people now, we're at a point where I'm cutting services. So then we move to what are the least painful things that we can do. And all of them are pretty painful. I mean, we were a fairly lean IT budget to begin with. So we weren't in a situation where we just had excess cash laying around. We came into this situation in a deficit, right? So, the philosophy that I've really tried to follow here has been one of protecting the critical services that you need first. That means I want to make sure that you have a network, right? And that your network works, that you have internet connectivity, because I think that's pretty foundational to everything that we do. If you don't have a network, pretty much nothing else happens, right? When you have a network, you've got to have authentication to it. You've got to have your accounts. You've got to have security on that network so you don't get hacked and we don't lose critical institutional information. We need to have our classrooms equipped. We need to have a website, so that people understand who we are. And we need to be able to run our administrative apps, our banner application that lets you enroll, that processes your grades, that does all of the things that are fundamental to making sure you're successful when you're here. So outside of that, the other options are you start to look at things like platform consolidation. And I know that's one that we want to talk about, and I'll invite you to ask me about any of the things that were in my presentation. I'm assuming you have seen at this point. So there were, in fact, let me just call it up here and share it with you. There were 4 service cuts. And I think the 2 that probably you're going to be most concerned with will be, you have to unshare so I can share. Okay, let's try this. Okay. So these are the 4 service cuts. I'll just tell you really quickly, the first 2 relate more to back-end environments and how we run our services, right? So our SAN is our storage area network. That's what that means is we're actually deferring from a 5-year refresh cycle to a 7-year refresh cycle. And that allows us to cost avoid 1.7, almost $1.8 million over the next 5-year cycle. You will not likely see any impact at all from that. Standardizing on tier 2 architecture means that when we run the banner environment or any of the application environments that we run, they have multiple back-end environments that support them. So in other words, you have a development environment, you might have a sandbox, you might have a user testing and training environment, you might have a production environment. And so basically what we're doing there, and all of those environments cost the same thing as the production environment, so they're expensive. So what we're trying to do there is to collapse those down into 2 tier 2 environments instead of having 5. And that allows us to cost avoid $1.2 million or almost $1.3 million over the next 5-year cycle. Then we come to platform and storage consolidation, and then to on-demand learning spaces, technology in our learning spaces. And I'm presuming you can tell me yes or no, those are the last 2 are the ones you want to focus on? Yes, okay. So let's talk about that. Let me come to platform consolidation. So we have 4 platforms that do potentially more that do approximately the same things. So if you weren't tied to UNCG and somebody tasked you with, let's figure out what's the logical thing to do to move to a sustainable operating model, you would say, well, of course, you've got multiple things that do the same thing. Let's pick one and have that one thing that you support, because it's not just the cost of having the product, it's the cost of all of the support and the training and all the things that go with helping people use that platform successfully. So and in this particular case, there are a couple of other factors that are really important here with Microsoft. So with Microsoft, we pay $515,000 a year for the Microsoft license, site license, enterprise license for education. And that gives us Office 365, the Windows operating system, the Windows Server operating system, our identity management system, and Power BI dashboard, all of the other things that we use, Microsoft Teams. And so the only way we can avoid paying that $515,000 annually for our license would be for us to say, we're going to get rid of Office 365. We're going to get rid of Windows, which are things we're just not going to do as an institution, right? So that sort of forces your hand to, the only choice that we can make here to do actual cost avoidance for the institution to save that money back into the budget is to pick the platform that we have to pick, because they offer products that we're not going to eliminate. The other thing I think that's complicating here for Google and Box and Zoom and the other, not so much Zoom, but for Google and Box, for a long time, the storage platforms offered sort of this infinite and free storage model, right? Google was the open source platform, and you could use it in whatever way you see fit, and there was no de minimis charge to use the platform and so forth. And those pricing models are changing. So we sit on the board of Internet 2, and for those of you who don't know what Internet 2 is, it is it's actually international, but nationally, this is all of the research institutions in the United States belong to Internet 2. And it is basically the research network backbone, research services backbone. So this is a platform where all of the big institutions, Indiana, Yale, all of the Texas A&M, all of the big institutions work together on building services that universities use. They work with vendors to build a service for institutions through this platform. So we sit on the board of Box and Internet 2 and Google. You all may know, or you may not know, we were the first school in the UNC system to move to Google. And so we have a pretty close tie with their executive team, and we understand their corporate direction. So at this point, because they're changing their pricing models, and we're expecting those pricing models to come out within the next year, we are trying to go as rapidly as we can ahead of that pricing model change so that we avoid that cost before we get to July. So that's the timeline. That's the pressure around the timeline here, because it's going to be, it'll be pretty close to, with Box and Zoom and Google combined, pretty close to a new about $1 million a year cost for us with the pricing model change. And here's the other thing that goes with that. Concurrent with the pricing model change, there will be pretty dramatic storage restrictions on the environment. So Google not only will begin to charge us significantly more than they've ever charged us before, but they also will impose a 5 gig limit on storage. So most of the people that we have on campus who use Google have a lot more than 5 gigs of storage. And so all of a sudden we'll get the cost not only for the platform increase, but the cost for all the storage that we're using. So it could become really exorbitant really quickly for us if we don't get off of the pricing model. So that is the reason that we're selecting Microsoft and trying to move to that as quickly as we can. So let me talk a little bit about the disruptiveness of that. So I am, anybody who knows me, and you all don't know me, and I'm sorry that you don't, but anybody who knows me knows that I am about as straight of a shooter as there is. I will lay it out. I'll tell you like it is, and I don't have any other speed. So yes, it's going to be disruptive. I mean, there's no question about that. When you change platforms, it's disruptive. I mean, I've been through a number of these before, and it's not a trivial lift. But the good news about that is that's short-lived. That disruption will work through it. It will move to the other side of that. And at the end of the day, you're going to have an integrated platform where we're not using multiple different tools. Everything will be in one place. And there's going to be benefits to be gained from that. So we'll lose some features, surely, that people love in the other platforms, but we'll gain some features too. And hopefully we'll have a smoother experience once we get to the other side, because we'll have integrated tools. And there's going to be, yes, a requirement to learn new tools for your daily processes. But, here's how we're going to approach that. So, we have been on the Microsoft education board for a long, long time, and we know Microsoft very well. And we basically put to Microsoft, we need you to come on board. We need you to come here. We need you to bring resources here, and we need you to help us do this migration. I've already told you that I'm down 20 staff, right? So I'm not flush with people to do this and make it the good experience that it should be for our students, faculty, and staff. So I'm going to have help doing this. So Microsoft is committed to come in probably starting last week of September. They're going to bring people on site, on campus. They're going to conduct discussions with all of our functional units, all of our faculty and staff functional units, and our students. And what I expect them to deliver to me is a roadmap. So I want them to first do a needs assessment to say, how are we using these other products, right? How are we using Google? What are the critical functions that are in Google for us? How are we using Zoom? How are we using Box? And what are all the things that we have to be able to do? And we know that there's, Zoom is integrated with Canvas. I'm well aware of what the functionality is there. So we're going to have a really detailed needs assessment and a roadmap that's built. And so I expect this roadmap to be delivered back to us before we get to December, so that we have enough time to share this back with campus and say, did we capture everything, right? Do we understand all the needs that have to be met one for one as we move to the new system? And do we have a good strategy for doing that? And so then, presuming we pass that bar with our faculty, staff, and students, what we would do is we would look to begin migrations on site with Microsoft and Microsoft partners being on site with us, department by department.
The connection is out for me. Is it out for anybody else?
It's
It's out for me as well.
Okay, 1 second then. She might have just had a disconnect, so like, let's just give her a second and see if she can connect back.
Oh, no. Can you all hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Oh, shoot, I can't hear you. Give me 1 minute to come out and come back in, please.
And after she finishes speaking, I'm going to give the senators about 10 minutes to ask questions or concerns, and then we're moved to student forum. My apologies, y'all. Just give her a second. Hopefully she'll be back in like 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. My computer just absolutely died, and I think that's irony. But at any rate, I'm sorry I won't be able to present the screen, but you all have seen it. So I think where I was really wrapping up the how we plan to roll through with the migration piece of it here. So we're going to make every effort and try to apply every resource from Microsoft and Microsoft partners to actually having a physical presence from Microsoft on site to help us map out and walk through as painless of a migration to the new platform as we can do. But there will still be disruption. And so, me including that on my slide was really an attempt to be as honest as I can be. You all know, I'm sure you have changed emails before, and you know that it's disruptive. So that's really where we are. And I will pause at that point, I guess, and ask you for any questions that you have about the platform consolidation.
Okay, so at this time, senators can put an X in the chat to ask her any questions. And also, if members of cabinet want to ask a question, they need to ask a senator to yield time to them. So you can just put it in the chat. Can someone yield their time? And then we'll go from there.
I apologize. I'm actually, I've entered the meeting again on my phone, so I'm not really able to see. So if you could let me know what questions come through chat, that would be really helpful.
Okay, I would do that. Can someone yield their time to Faith?
I yield my time.
Thank you. You can go ahead, Faith.
So I was wondering, as the consolidation process happened, you said a Microsoft representative would be on campus to help, walk us through the entire process. Would that be just for staff, or would that be for students as well?
No, we want everyone to have a successful transition. So basically what I would envision will happen, Faith, and I don't want to speak out of turn here because we haven't actually gone through a planning session with Microsoft yet, but the goal certainly would be to have them bring to bear all of the resources that are required to make sure that all of our students, faculty, and staff can successfully use the platform as we make our migration to the new platform. So whatever training is required there, whatever, assistance with migration is required there, it will be my absolute goal to make sure that happens for all of our students, faculty, and staff.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
All right, and then Jaisha, you can go ahead.
Hi. I understand all the choices that you and your team had to make. And me being a student, I just want to know, why wasn't this information presented to us beforehand and we had to find out on social media?
Sure. Well, I'm definitely sorry you found out on social media. So the way that this works, first of all, we have been through a year-long process of trying to do all of the conservation methods, so to speak, that we could do to save money. And to get to what we thought a final budget would look like, so that we have reduced the gap as significantly as we could reduce it, our budget deficit as significantly as we could reduce it. And so we started in 2021 believing that we were going to have a $6 million gap. And by the time we went through our cost savings measures over the course of this last year, and I went through my letting go 20 employees and all the actions that we took internally to try to operate as cost effectively as possible, we had reduced that deficit down to 3.9 million. But we didn't get finished with all of that work until around the probably December, January kind of time frame. So then we set about the work of trying to figure out if there was other funding that we could free up from other places, if we could stagger our refresh cycles. I mean, I know it sounds silly, but when you're providing technology that supports 20,000 plus people, it's kind of like running a small city. And so there are a lot of moving parts, and one decision impacts, 10 other decisions. And so it took us a while to work through what really our final deficit would look like. And then on top of that, to work through what viable options could be on the table that would be least impactful to students, faculty, and staff. So we actually landed on a decision around that in June. And as soon as we landed on the decision, I started going through the process of presenting it to our Chancellor's Council, presenting it to, our deans, presenting it to our department chairs, department heads, chairs, and division heads. And so I've been through a whole series of trying to work through presentation of all of the things that have been decided here to all of our affected groups. And so you guys, I'm on your agenda. I'm also on Staff Senate and Faculty Senate. And so I'm trying to schedule these meetings as close together as I can so that everybody hears directly from me what decisions have been made and what I believe those impacts will be. But it's a challenge getting all of these meetings coordinated in a way that we can do that. It's unfortunate, and I'm more sorry than I can tell you that things were shared on social media, because I think when you see a slide like that, it's jarring, and without having someone talking to you about what the context of that is and what it really means, you tend to think the worst of what's happening there. So I'm grateful that I got the opportunity to come and talk with you today about it. And there will be many more campus forums to come. So I would encourage you to join those as they come along. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Certainly.
Okay, next we have Azariah.
Thank you so much. One of the questions I had was with the learning spaces we have, you did talk about the increase in classroom spaces. So we now have about 260 classrooms across the campus of UNCG. And on one of the slides that would have been shown, it talked about the on-demand learning space technology. And with that, it states that there was going to be some classrooms that are no longer going to be ADA compliant. Can you discuss that decision to make that move for some classrooms to be ADA compliant? And how do you think which departments are going to be hit? How do you choose which rooms will and will not be ADA compliant? And how does that affect the licensure that we have with the ADA to remain?
Sure, I certainly can address that. So let me talk a little bit about what that means, about what the classroom technology changes mean. So when we first built the budget for classroom technology, we were building it to equip every classroom in exactly the same way so that we would have a consistent experience for faculty as they move from room to room. And so then the pandemic hit, right? And so all of a sudden we're equipping classrooms with a lot of equipment so that we can do remote learning, so that we can, lecture capture, so that we can do a lot of things that really weren't even on the radar back in 2014 when we first built this budget. So the scenario that we have is we have every classroom that we support, all 260 of them, we're supporting at a very high level of technology right now. And so we started working with the registrar, and we started looking at utilization of the classrooms. And so there's a handful of classrooms across campus that are used less than 15 hours per semester. And so it occurs to us that, it makes a lot of sense probably to come up with a variable model for how we equip these classrooms. So for classrooms that are used a lot. You put the highest level of technology in those classrooms, and for classrooms that are not used very often at all, you put a lower level of technology in there so that you don't have it's not a one size fits all model, is what I'm trying to say. And so we're still working through with the registrar and the provost and the vice provost, we're still working through what does that look like. And we have actually a learning technology committee of faculty who are part of an IT governance group. And so there will be a lot of discussion around what this looks like before we land on what is the new model. So the goal certainly will be to equip every single classroom that is utilized frequently on our campus with the highest level of technology. But there may be some spaces that maybe we shouldn't have called those spaces classrooms because they're just not used in the same way. But the whole intent of that was my intent of laying out warts and all, which is why I laid out the comment about ADA compliance for some spaces, is that, if we had a situation where a faculty member wanted to use a classroom that really was not very frequently used, then what we would want them to do would be to work with ITS ahead of time and to check, because that room would not likely be ADA compliant in the same way, but ITS would make equipment available on a checkout per semester basis for that faculty member to make the classroom ADA compliant. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question? It's hard for me to tell when I'm on a cell phone, and I'm really sorry about that. I wish you could see me instead of just hearing my voice.
No, I think you answered the question. Thank you.
Okay, and then our last question from our senator will be Mason, and then we'll move on to student forum.
So I'm a big proponent of Microsoft. If I'm doing anything personal, I'm using Word or Excel. And I know last year I used Excel for the allocations budget. And when I was in deliberations with my committee, I actually put it on OneDrive. And in my experience, the sharing function with Microsoft was very poorly designed, and it was either lagging or I wasn't getting the information that I needed to get, that my committee was putting into that budget sheet. And I was just wondering, how does this switch from Google to mostly Microsoft, how is that going to affect groups that have these shared drives or shared documents?
That's a great question. So let me say that, with the Microsoft product, we have never configured that to be a solution for UNCG, in that storage to be Microsoft storage to be a solution for UNCG. So we have done zero work in terms of building in the functionality that would make that collaboration with storage easier. We've done a lot of that with Google, and with Box. And so what we would want to do here, and again, I'll go back to this idea of capturing the needs assessment here and making sure that we've held Microsoft to task to demonstrate that their platform will actually do all of the things that we need it to do. I think that's going to be a really critical part of what we raise in working through this needs assessment and blueprint for migration. I feel very confident that the platform from a storage and collaboration perspective will meet our needs, but I think it will have to be configured to do that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Certainly.
Okay, so at this time, I'm going to read off some of the questions that were in our YouTube stream. One of these were a little bit before we started answering these questions, and it's from Grant Young. His question was, does that mean that OneDrive will have larger than 5 gigabytes? So I guess he's asking that question in reference to when you're talking about the storage problem with Google.
Yep, the default individual storage capacity for OneDrive is 1 terabyte per user out of the box. And then certainly we can negotiate with Microsoft to increase those limits as we need to.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Shane Gentle. He asked, will our email addresses change?
No, you will still be at uncg.edu.
Okay, and the last question, oh, well, not the last question, I'm sorry. Another one just popped in. I'm not sure. Shane Gentle, if you could clarify your third question for me, please, and then I'll come back. I have another question from Jay Baxley. His question is, what is the exact technology that will be preventing classrooms from being ADA compliant?
So in other words, what we would look at for classrooms that are really minimally used, we have many faculty members that bring their own device and that need to project onto a screen. So for a basic configuration for a classroom that is not used, not very highly used, you would be looking at equipping it with something like a projector and an HDMI connection. Right. So if there is additional equipment that is needed to ensure ADA compliance beyond what a professor has on the equipment they bring, then we would want them to work with ITS to check that out to make sure they are properly equipped to be ADA compliant for the semester.
Okay, thank you. So for Shane Gentle, his question was, hours as in credit hours or hours as in simple time? I'm not sure exactly what he means. 12 to 3. Does anybody else know what he means? Because he's asking about
credit hours.
Okay. Yeah, he said hours like 12 to 3 or credit hours. I don't know exactly.
Right, credit hours. And so basically, you know, Shane, what we were looking at here is how can we use our space more effectively? Right. I mean, so that through a combination of just managing our scheduling, potentially eliminating some spaces that really aren't used. And we, you know, we understand how, you know, what the use cases are for these classrooms and the size of them and how they're used and how they're scheduled. And so the intent is to really look at, can we do this in a way that we maximize what we have in an optimal configuration of spaces here, so that we're not just, you know, willy-nilly applying the highest level of technology to all 260 rooms. So the intent is not to create an experience for faculty or students that is suboptimal when they go into a classroom, but it's really to figure out how can we do it in the most effective and cost-effective way. And I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you for that. I just have 2 more questions from 2 more students, and then after that, we'll be done with that.
Sure.
So from Emma Aquino, she asks, will we also have access to Adobe services through Microsoft?
Well, that is a great question. I don't know the answer to that, but I will certainly run the ball on that and see if I can figure that out. It's a good question. And I'm hard to stump, so so I appreciate the question. I will give an answer to that.
Okay, thank you. And then from Tabitha McCrae, she asks, will those classrooms be available for students to rent out or reserve, or will they only be available to faculty?
Gosh, that's also a good question. I think that's an issue I will raise with the registrar and with the provost and vice provost. I'm not sure how that is managed today. Really, ITS's role in that is, you know, equipping it with the appropriate level of technology. But that's certainly a valid point to raise.
Okay, so that was pretty much it for the student part, the student questions. If you have any more remarks you can leave us with, that would be great. We appreciate you coming to talk to us and explain to us what's going on. Yeah.
Of course. So again, I will tell you, it's really my pleasure and my honor to be able to come and speak with you today. I appreciate you inviting me very much, and I'm happy to do it anytime you'd like to have me to come and speak with you. So I hope that I've been able to answer your questions with everything I know about the transitions today. As these things move forward, as we get more information and we start to really get clarity on how things will roll out, you'll hear from me again. The whole campus will hear from me again, and I'll try to update you as quickly as we know things are happening, or if there are any decisions that are made around these things. So again, I would invite you, certainly I I included my email in the chat. I would invite you, if you have any questions, my door is open. I am not confused about the fact that I am here to support you in being successful in your journey at UNCG. And so I certainly will do everything I can do to do that. So again, I'll look forward to hearing from you again. And I hope that you all have a great semester.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna return back to business. So let me, this was a part of our new business. We're kind of jumping over things, but we're gonna have to go back to old business now. We're gonna be reviewing GB 100-01 again. And at this time, we will have either Jaisha, if she wants to say anything. If not, then she'll yield her time to LaShonda, and I can screen share, or LaShonda or Jaisha, if you want to screen share to share that legislation, you can. Let me know if you need me to share it.
Can you screen share it for me?
Yes, I did not have it pulled up yet, but I will screen share it for you. Give me 1 second. Let's see. Okay. Can y'all see this?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, if you need to say anything, you can do that, and then you can yield time to LaShonda.
No, I'd just like to yield my time to LaShonda, please.
Okay, you can go ahead, LaShonda.
Okay, great. Just for clarification, I need to read this again, right?
Yes, for a second reading, unless I can entertain a motion to view it as read for a second time. Azariah.
Motion to have it read first. Yeah.
Okay, is there any seconds? Mason.
Second.
Okay, LaShonda, if you have any additional remarks, like if it was reviewed or anything, you can let us know that now. And then if not, then we'll move into like Q&A and discussion, and then we'll vote.
Absolutely. So I believe many good questions were raised during last week about the piece of legislation about kind of the expectations surrounding office hours and, like, whether that can be virtual and, whether you have to be in the office, which absolutely doesn't. But if anyone has any more questions about it, I'm more than happy to entertain those. But as far as like things like snacks, that's easy to supply. Like Aaron, I don't think would have any problem with buying a few snacks for us. She's bought, plenty of snacks for us in the past. But yeah, is there anything else that maybe I missed or anything like that? If someone has any questions, I'd be happy to entertain.
Yeah, so at this point in time, we'll do 5 minutes of question and answer like we did last week. So if any senators have any questions, please put an X in the chat. If any cabinet members have a question, please ask them to yield their time. Which it shouldn't pertain to cabinet, but just in case. Okay, if there are no questions, I can entertain a motion to, okay, let me see. Mason?
Motion to move on previous question and discussion.
Okay, so we're moving past both of those things. Okay. All right, so is there a second for that? Jaisha?
Second.
Okay, and is there any discounts? Anybody who's against this, or not discounts, dissents? Any dissent, any dissent? Please put an X in the chat if you have any dissent. Okay, so if not, then that means we will go into voting now. Nazir, if you're in here, can you please put the link to the form in the chat?
Yes, I will. Just to let everyone know, please use your UNCG email because it is connected with UNCG. So just make sure you do that. I will be sending the link.
And it's only for senators, only for senators. So please, if you're in cabinet or if you're a ledge board like historian or treasurer, you don't need to vote, just senators, strictly senators.
It should be coming in now. It's just sent.
Fatima, did you go through with your UNCG email? Yeah, that's what I was about to say. You need to go through with your UNCG email.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you guys, the governing bill for 101 will be passed.
And what are the numbers for it? Like you can do the numbers of like for 12 to 1 to 0 or
People
something.
wrote it like like that's what you're asking.
Yeah, so like for people who passed, it'll be a certain number, and then you do the who said no. Don't say who says no, but like 12 to 1 to 0 or something like that, like a proportion.
Yeah, I got you. 9 to 3, so 9 was yes and 3 was no.
Okay, is there any abstain?
No.
Okay. All right, y'all. Thank you for that. We just finished our first piece of ledge. Clap, clap, clap. Let me go back up here. Wait, it was come here. Jasmine, it was 9 to 3 to 0. Yeah. Okay. All right. I already did new business. Now we're going to go into executive council reports. And first we'll have Oz.
Thank you, Mara. You can go to the next slide. Appreciate it. First, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for paying attention to our speaker. Just paying attention to current campus concerns. We can really answer all of our questions, just facilitating conversations with administration or whoever we need. And I do want y'all to know that VC, he did come on a short notice, so I do want us to appreciate that. So basically what I've been up to, still doing some of those student health center director interviews, or they're wrapping up. We had the SGA and EUC blood drive. Shout out to Grace, did an amazing job. Hopefully she has some of those numbers later on, but yeah, give her a round of applause. She has some of those numbers, but we did have a good turnout, and there is another one. Am I applying to PA school this cycle? Funny question. I don't know if I'm going to be a PA anymore, but we'll talk about that another time. But yeah, so good job on the blood drive. Yeah, so there's another one on November 3rd, so be on the lookout for that. I went to DC for Labor Day weekend, had some fun time, spent time with my cousins. That's like a breakfast I had right there. It was like a salmon egg Benedict, I guess. I had executive cabinet meeting last week, went amazing. I also attended the PR team meeting today. Oh my gosh, PR team's great. I wish we could all just go to their meeting, but that'd be too much. But I'm gonna really invite them to come. They're just killing it. I mean, like, if you go on the social media, if you haven't looked at the website, please go look at the website like ASAP. But yeah, they're doing an amazing job. So shout out to them. And like I said, just being attentive to the current campus concerns. My office hours are the same, still in my office. There goes my email, my number. And then I also participated in a donor thank you event for a scholarship I received. So shout out to HHS for that. What's coming up? Student current concerns tabling. That's Jaisha and Azariah are doing that tomorrow. I believe from 11:30 to 1 in the Moran Commons. So like downstairs of what's the CAF. They're also going to be providing suicide prevention resources. So please go out to that. At the same time, outside the EUC, there are also going to be the Pinwheel for Prevention event going on. So if you want to put out pinwheels, we are encouraged by SGA as SGA to go do that. So after you stop by their table, please make sure you go to the EUC and do that. I got an executive council meeting, more cabinet meetings. I actually have a meeting with Chancellor Gilliam on Thursday. So if you have anything you want me to ask him, or just you want a shout out or something like that, just let me know. I'll talk to him. And then more meetings with faculty, Senate, staff, Senate, and GSA about the collaboration we have for next semester. I had a couple of tests last week, got more tests. I had one today. So pray for me on that. And then also next week, I will be giving the state of campus address when all of our new senators are sworn in. So be on the lookout for that and make sure you are present. And then for there's a little for suicide prevention. Just allow yourself to cancel plans, to have a mental health day, to rest, to take tasks off, to have alone time to slow down. I mean, I remember like last year coming to this position, I was really getting overwhelmed, but some of these things you got to take care of yourself before you start taking care of other people. So also for next week, just so y'all can have something ahead of time, we will also be doing headshots. So we will be doing that from 5 to 7 right before Senate. We're finding a location, most likely going to be in the basement of the library. They have the digital Moran Commons or Media Commons, my fault. And the PR team will be taking those headshots. So business professional next week. Mara will send more information about that. But just a heads up, if you need to get anything, you can get a haircut or whatever, headshots will be taken next week and they will be posted on the SGA website and also on the Instagram. So big things coming up. So thank you. If you have any questions, you can let me know.
Fatima asked you a question in the chat.
Yeah, I seen that. She said about PA school. I don't, what I'm saying? Like, I'm thinking about going health administration just to let everyone know. Kind of fell in love with leadership. So trying to hopefully manage a hospital or something like that. Big CEO Haas.
Okay, sir. Okay. Alrighty then. We'll move on to Kaylee.
Thanks, Mara. So office hours by appointment as usual. If y'all need me, I am here. I've been up to work, class, and homework. Those have taken up at least 90% of my time. I volunteered at the blood drive. Look at that cute picture of Mara and I. Isn't it cute? And then I've been working on some conduct team
So my second question is, what do y'all require?
Jordan, you're unmuted. Jordan.
So I've been working on some conduct team stuff. I finalized meeting times and second training dates, so that's been fun. I have a nice color-coded spreadsheet, which makes my brain very happy. And I'm sending out emails soon with all of those things. I was helping with Hall Council training. So last week I was their keynote speaker. And then I'm meeting with our GA in the OSRR with Maddie. So it's been really great. And then meeting with students about cases. So yay, we've already had cases come in. But other than that, some pictures on the screen. These are some plants that I've somehow kept alive for the past 3 weeks. Don't ask me how. It's been some luck that I've had. I saw Lav and Haley Kiyoko in concert last week, so that was a lot of fun. So there was my makeup and some pictures. And then there's a picture of a really pretty sunset or sunrise that I took the other morning. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. So what's coming up next meeting, or setting up a first initial meeting during the school year of conduct team, like what it is, cases as they roll in, meeting with exec council as needed, sitting in on more interviews for the assistant dean and director. And then my first exam is next week and I don't want to talk about it. And then one quote that I wanted to say was, we may not have all of the answers for each other, but we do have each other. We are all able to travel through just knowing that we have one another. And you don't have to travel alone.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Kaylee. Sorry, I was having some trouble unmuting. Okay, so lastly, Here is my little what's going on with me. So I did a chair pro tempore form that I sent out in an email earlier. And that form is very important because I need to make an appointment for that position. So if you're interested in being the chair pro tempore, please fill it out. Or if you want to recommend somebody to be chair pro tempore, please fill that out as well. Chair pro tempore is the person who is filling in for me. So if you were, okay with being vice president, then fill that out. But I'll be here. Anyways, I've been to Black Student Union meetings. And we've been talking about SGA collaborations and all that good stuff. They have a Hustle University event coming up. I really encourage everybody to come out and see all the small Black-owned businesses. We won't be selling anything, but it's going to be a great thing going on out there. And then I've been promoting and voting in the fall elections. I hope y'all voted, and just making sure that people are going out and voting and voting. And then also I've been to the EUC blood drive. That was a success. We had a great turnout. Yeah, all that good stuff. There's a picture there of me and Kaylee at the blood drive. That's a picture of some food I made. I hope y'all like soul food. I mean, it looked good to me. It tasted good to me. That's my roommates. It was very good. But yeah, I made that. That roast was literally in there for like 6 hours. So it was a commitment. And then my office hours are Tuesday and Thursday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I'm going to try to be in there at those times every time. But if I'm not, just, text me or call me or whatever. And she said it was blessing. Oh my God. Oh no, I have to go back. Wait. Oh no, wait. Okay, the fair, y'all, the fair is here. So if you want to go to the fair, them dollar days are tomorrow and Thursday, and it's also this weekend. We're probably gonna go for Jaisha's birthday because Jaisha's birthday this weekend. But yeah, if y'all want to go to the fair, do that. Okay, so and then what's coming up? So next meeting, we got new people coming in to get lit. I'm so excited, y'all. Like, I am so excited for these people to come in. The headshots are gonna be great. The website's gonna be great. Like, everything's just gonna be so good. I'm so excited. We're gonna have a full Senate. Like, so excited. And then exec council meetings, that's gonna be coming up. Hopefully, if we all get a time to meet. Pro tempore appointment hopefully next week, and then ledge meeting to be announced. So I have Alani's not present today, but Alani's going to make a sign up genius. So all my ledge board members, we will have a meeting coming up soon, so please put in your availability when she sends it out. And then also, I did join the Intercultural Leadership Council for Black Student Union, and I'm going to ask them if I can also do it for SGA if they let me. But I did join for Black Student Union because I really wanted to get that extra funding for them, because I mean, you can only get so much money for allocations. But yeah, I'll be attending those meetings, and when I go to my first one, I will ask about also advocating for SGA. And then what's coming up is tomorrow we have a current concerns tabling for Jaisha. She will be doing that. And then Suicide Prevention Week, and that's, in combination. And also to add on to that, if there's any more students watching, please, please, please bring your current concerns to the table. Or if you know any students that they've been saying some things or they have some concerns, tell them to come to the tabling tomorrow so that they can fill out a form or whatever Jaisha has in plan for them. What else? I think that's it. And then, so I just have two images here. It says sending love to those who are fighting suicidal thoughts, have someone lost to suicide, have attempted, love someone who is suicidal, have no support system, are scared to speak up. And there's a picture here that is very, very like, it's powerful because, yeah. But sending love to all y'all during the Mental Health Awareness Month. And now we'll move on. Okay, now it's senator forum. So any senators at this time may speak up to 2 minutes on matters pertaining to SGA. Put an X in the chat if you would like to speak, please. Really? Y'all don't got nothing to say? Y'all don't have anything to say? Okay, we'll move on then. Okay. Announcements. Now, any member of SGA can speak for up to 2 minutes. You can put an X in the chat if you would like to speak. Oh, Mason, you can go ahead.
So mine's like half pertaining to SGA, and that's why I waited till announcements. But finance allocation hearings started today. Y'all best be glad because I didn't have an actual lunch or dinner yet. So I am very hungry. And then second of all, exciting news. So as an elder at my church, I am being appointed chair of the finance committee there. And then also, if anyone is living in Hillsborough, remember me and vote for me for town board coming up in 2023. I think I'm actually the only person running, but every vote counts.
That is great to hear, Mason. I'm very, very happy for you. And thank you so much for taking your time and doing the hearings for all the allocation stuff. Next, we have LaShonda.
Hi, this will be quick. I just wanted to let you know that I recently spoke with the director of ORS, Tina Byers. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. Yeah. And she wanted to let everyone know that there's a opportunity happening in relation to the Folk Fest. She's looking for student volunteers during the Folk Fest to, so apparently there's a way in which ORS makes money that they donate to disabled people in the wider Greensboro community by selling parking spaces. So like they sell parking spots. If you're looking for volunteer opportunities, this would be a great time. Yeah, but overall, if you want to collaborate with ORS at all, she's looking for a lot of support. So yeah, thank you.
Volunteer opportunities, y'all. Y'all got to get right. Okay. Deja, you're next. Or Dej, sorry.
Hey, I just want to reiterate about the flyer request form. Since I know y'all about to start having events and everything, Grace already submitted 5 of her flyers for her initiative week, which is the last week in September. And the PR team is also working on other things to keep the page more engaging. So as soon as y'all find out or plan an event that y'all are going to do, could y'all like submit that flyer request? Because it's just a more organized way of us knowing the details instead of, sending me a separate message a day or 2 before. It just makes everything easy and it's more accessible to the whole PR team.
Yes, y'all, please, please, please do it ahead of time, because when you wait last minute to the week of your event, you don't know if that flyer is going to, get to you in time. I remember last semester that was a problem. So please, if you're even thinking about an event and virtually having some details, let them know so they can at least make you one. Even if you don't end up using it, just make sure that you do it beforehand. And I think that the form should be in the drive. So go look in the drive. Next person is Jai, I think. Yes.
Okay, hello. I just wanted to let everybody know that I am doing the Safe Sex Day tabling. It's going to be September 29th. I think it's from 1 to 3. If anybody wants to help out with that, please let me know now so I can have your name written down. And that's it.
Yeah, so please help her out with her initiatives. It's going good so far. Is there anybody else before we move on? Oh, also for senators, if you are interested in being on the Supreme Court, which I need 3 people, please let me know. If not, I can just wait till the new members come in next week and see if any of them are interested. But yeah, let me know. Okay, so we'll move on now. All right, we'll have our adjournment roll call by LaShonda again.
Okay, sorry, that took me a second. But yes, Dominic Camargo.
Sophomore Senator Dominic Camargo.
Jalen Bailey.
Junior Senator President.
Fatima Shahidi.
Senior Senator President.
Kennedy Green.
Community Senator President.
Jasmine Israel.
Residential Senator President.
Manny De Jesus.
At-large Senator President.
Traisha McKinney.
At-large Senator President.
Grace Sakiti.
Student Senator President.
Lauren Walkup.
Transfer Student Senator President.
Azariah Journey.
Non-traditional student Senator President.
Mason Newcomer.
Bryan School Senator President.
Kevon Lee. And Marley O'Connor.
College of Visual and Performing Arts Senator present.
Right, thank you.
Okay, and I would like to adjourn at 8:23. Thanks, everybody. See you next week. And be prepared for them headshots, because we need those headshots. Thank you.